So I'm awesome. It's my friend. All right. So sorry that I don't know what happened to my internet. I hope you all stretched out. I want to start with an exercise that we do a lot that helps us focus. It's from Kundalini Yoga. Hold your hands here next to your ears. And it's right here, not here, not here, not here, here. And the motion is like this. And we're just going back and forth. I keep doing it. Don't stop. And I'm setting a timer for 1 minute. Now, important, it's not over here. Scott, bring them near your ears. Awesome. Thank you. Really important to breathe. Breathing is kind of essential. So while you're doing this, keep breathing. You can smile also. Check out who's on the Zoom screen. See the interesting names. Are they names that are familiar to you? Names that you've never heard? Maybe names that you're afraid to pronounce? Names that you don't know what the hell they mean? Just keep going.
I'm not getting into that today.
And you know, a minute seems like a no time. Depends all on perspective. Sometimes it's a lot of time. But keep going, keep going. We got 13 more seconds. Keep going. 8 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And just bring your hands right in front of you. Hold your hands here. Close your eyes for just a little second. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale. Open your eyes. Bring your hands together. Thank you so much for choosing us, for coming into our room, learning about our work. We are so grateful that you are here. And I am going to just introduce to you who are here from our team. I'm Naomi Ackerman. I am the founder and executive director of the Advot Project, which we are going to explain more about. Annie Key, who actually on my screen is right next to me, is my strategy and program manager. And we have 2 brilliant, amazing, remarkable participants of ours, students of ours. Ashley, can you wave? And Jasmine, who is here from 2 of our different programs. I am going to pass it on to Jasmine, who's going to kind of lay some ground rules of how we're going to be proceeding today. So Jasmine, over to you.
Hi guys, well, my name is Jasmine. I've been in the Advot Project for about 2 years, a part of East LA Rising, and we're going to be setting some ground rules today, or just some things that we would want to have in the Zoom. So usually with these rules, they consist of what you would want this hour that we're going to have today to look like. So is there any rules? Is there any things that you would want all of us to kind of follow along with? Just kind of unmute or just let us know so that we can kind of start writing those down so that we can follow these rules throughout the Zoom.
Ooh. Presume positive intent, Kay says. I love that.
We try in the spaces that we come into to listen. You'll see that our t-shirts say listen, act, change, which is also the name of our curriculum. And Ashley didn't have a t-shirt, so I'm sorry, Ashley. And we didn't connect to get it to her. But we really want to hear what you guys what makes you feel comfortable, a few guiding rules. And we really always start our sessions with that. And then we'll continue. So if anyone has anything else, you can add it to it. Annie, you can maybe add some of the ones that we already have.
Yeah, because we
I want to share step up and step back to know how to balance your time and have courage to step up and speak like I'm doing right now. And also the mindfulness to step back when you've spoken enough.
Love that. That is one that we bring into our classrooms all the time because we're working with young people. When we say things like, we're gonna do these exercises through the arts, and they go, I don't know what that is. I don't do acting. I'm not an actor. I don't want to do it. It's like, you're gonna step up, you're gonna try something, you're gonna step back, and you're gonna let your partner try something. And also, something that I always bring into the classroom is stepping a little bit out of your comfort zone. We always say, and Nomi says, Stepping out of your comfort zone is where you grow and where you learn. So I invite all of you to step out of your comfort zone today. We also have, let's see, stay on your learning edge. Joshua, can you give me like a 1-sentence explanation of what that means to you?
Sure. I think it's just, making sure that you're being receptive and open to learning and hearing new things, and just, being open-minded to new ways of receiving information.
Amazing. I'm going to steal that. I like that. Be mindful of everyone's opinions. Jasmine added, thank you. Ashley, do you have one you want to throw in there?
I mean, originally I was going to say open-mindedness, but Joshua kind of beat me to that one. I want to say just keeping everything very light. I know some concepts could be like, well, I've never heard of that, or I've never tried that. I know that myself because when I entered the program, I was like, that sounds weird, but so just keeping everything, light, take it with a grain of salt if it doesn't really sit with you. Again, it's correlating back to being open-minded.
Love it. Amazing. One final thought, 2 final thoughts.
I always, my biggest one is always learn what you share and share what you learned, right? But always knowing how to share it, not using this, I was in this great workshop, I learned this and this and that, but maybe not using someone's name, or if something was confidential. We are in the business of talking about relationships, which you guys might not even know what we're talking about really, because we haven't even started talking. But before we talk, we just want to make sure that everyone understands that we need to respect each other, and all of the things that we've just said. Ashley, you want to add anything else?
It just occurred to me, we mentioned being mindfulness about people are speaking about. When we speak about relationships, they're not always positive. Sometimes we can touch on something that's negative. So I think we should all be aware that some concepts could be a little bit, touching our nerves. So we should be just aware of how people are reacting, like such as our body language.
Jasmine, want to end with anything?
Well, we already said being open-minded. It's just being respectful to everyone. Treat everyone the way you wanted to be treated, because in that you're able to be welcoming and just kind of be in this comfortable setting. So if you want to be treated a specific way, you treat others the way you want to be treated.
Awesome. Thank you.
Love it.
Great. Thank you. So I want to give a little introduction to who we are. The Advot Project, the word adva is a Hebrew word. I grew up in Israel and I'm Israeli, and you would know that if you saw my spelling. The word advot means ripples. And really, we're the Ripple Project because I, as the founder, am a true believer in the ripple effect. And everything we do, everything we say has a capacity of having a ripple effect. And the organization, the Advot Project, we use theater and the arts to teach communication skills and healthy relationships. And we do this through a process that is that leans on 5 pillars of communication. So I just threw a lot of information at you. So it's really using interactive exercises, which we are going to do some examples of, to get people not only talking about relationships, but playing out relationships. Because really what is on our shirts, listen, act, change. First of all, pay attention and listen, then take action, and then change will happen. And really the premise and the foundation that I founded this organization was a deep belief in the fact that relationships are crucial for success. And the way that we relationship is by communicating. And this is the 10th year that this organization is alive. When I first founded it, we spent our first few years working in the LA County lockup facilities. And we were working primarily with incarcerated youth. And our early theory of change was, if we can open the door to possibility and better communication to incarcerated youth, that will prevent recidivism and having them come back, because they will be empowered to communicate themselves better, conduct themselves better, and have better opportunities. What we learned behind the walls is that so many of our youth were sitting not for the crime they committed, but in every encounter that they had with any authority, they communicated poorly and they got themselves in more trouble. And our job was not to teach them to communicate differently, but just to give them tools to be able to communicate better. And really, the best way to teach, I think, is through the arts, and particularly drama, because I'm a theater person. The moment you start role playing and you acting out situations and you switch role playing, you start to practice how to be in life. And once we started practicing that, and we were talking about relationships, that opened this door to empowerment, to talk about our dreams. Who do we want to be in a relationship with? What do we want that relationship to look like? And for many of the youth that we work with, they've never really experienced a positive relationship, or they don't even know that they can ask to be in a good relationship. So all of these together come into this curriculum, which is called Listen, Act, Change, that every segment of it deals with a different pillar of communication. And we have mapped out, and through the work, we have devised 5 pillars of communication. So the first one is intentional listening, that we listen with intention. The second one is authentic storytelling. And what that means is that we're not making up stories in our head, that we're not hearing one thing and then making up a story, that we're not telling a fake story, that we're being authentic, and that we're also owning our story and telling whatever part of it that we choose to. The third is starting with I. Everything starts with me. I can only be responsible for myself in a relationship, not anybody else. And the fourth is speaking your truth, be honest. And the last one is recognizing perspective. So again, I'm throwing a lot of information at you, and you can go to our website and contact us afterwards. I'm happy to explain this. I'm just going to give you the cliff notes of what I said. Listen, act, change. 5 pillars of communication: intentional listening, authentic storytelling, start with I, speak your truth, recognize perspective. How do we teach all of this? Through interactive exercises. And just for a fun fact, for those of you who are teachers or from schools, the way that we do this with New Village Girls Academy, we come in for 15 weeks. We teach each pillar through exercises that we're going to do in a minute, because already I'm talking too much. And then in the end, we have a show, a culmination, where the kids act out and use creativity to really empower everybody to start examining their relationships. So I want to kind of talk 2 seconds about opening the door to creativity, because all of us, and even those who are saying, well, I'm not an artist, I'm not an actor, I'm not a this, I'm not a that, you are all creative. And it's just about opening that door. So I am going to pass the wand over to Annie and start with the first pillar, which is intentional listening. What does that mean? What does that look like? And what would an interactive exercise of intentional listening look like? Take it away, Annie.
Yes. So I want to talk briefly just for a second about introducing listening to students. It sounds sort of counterintuitive because students are listening all the time and they're actually probably overloaded in terms of listening, but we have a core curricular lesson or activity, which I'm going to do with you all. But we've adapted our curriculum several times in the time that I've been working with the team, which is coming up on 4 years, Nomi, if you can believe that. I know, it's crazy. And we actually start with a storytelling exercise and have them do what we call focused listening, which high school students are kind of doing that all the time. But intentional listening is a little bit different. So I would love a volunteer. Not one of the students that we dragged along for this, but somebody in the group. A brave stepping up. Oh, Andy, is that you? Are you gonna be our volunteer? Amazing. So Andy,
Karen, I saw you did it too, but yeah.
Karen's gonna go next. And and I'm gonna say one thing, because I love big picture learning, and I am the biggest fan of, and I so appreciate what all of you are doing. we want to share our work with you. So we are talking a lot at you, which is not a practice that we appreciate or like, but I didn't want to start showing videos. And I also can't compete with the big picture learning videos because like Javier's character thing, like not going to go there. But I just want you to know that there's plenty of time in the end to ask questions. So you can put a question in the chat, you can write it down. We want to kind of download information, play some games, and then we'll open it up for questions. So just want to make that kind of put that out there. Go on, Annie, sorry.
Okay, Andy, thank you so much for volunteering. I love a brave volunteer. So what I would ask the group in a high school or in a site is, does everybody know what pros and cons are? So Andy, do you know what pros and cons are? Exactly.
I would always do that, yeah.
Yes, good things about a subject or a topic or something, and bad things. Wonderful. So you are going to tell the group all about the pros and cons of drinking coffee. So you're going to start with pros. You're going to tell us one or two great things about drinking coffee. And then when I clap my hands, and I'll prompt you as well, you're going to share with the group the negative things. And if you get stuck, you can phone a friend, you can ask for help from the group. So Andy, what is a great thing about drinking coffee?
One great thing about drinking coffee, if you haven't been doing it for very long, is the caffeine buzz.
Excellent. And what's a bad thing?
You kind of take a leak usually after a good mugful, you know.
Yes. Okay. A good thing.
For me, at least personally, it's the ritual of making that coffee every morning, you know, sweetening it as I prefer and as my wife prefers. So, you know, I can make my mug, make her mug later. And
I love that. Okay. Beautiful. And another bad thing.
In the middle of the summer, it's a hot beverage. It's not always a great thing.
Okay, and we'll end on a positive note. So one final positive thing about drinking coffee.
If I'm going to have an addiction, I'll take that one.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, hand clap for Andy. Thank you. So the way that we unpack this exercise is if I'm in a conversation, or sometimes it's a confrontation about drinking coffee with Andy, and I keep saying, I don't like drinking coffee because it makes me pee and I don't have time for that. I have a lot of work to do. I can't go to the bathroom every 5 seconds. And he comes back to me with, but the ritual of it is so beautiful. And I love sweetening it to my wife's content. And I say, yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with me. It makes me have to pee. What's happening? Andy or anybody else?
You're not hearing
a disconnect. There's no overlap of ideas.
There's no overlap of ideas, and you're not hearing me. Remember, this is
you're spending your time in your brain thinking of your retort versus hearing what Andy has to say.
Listening to respond, not to understand. Yeah.
We are not listening with intention in that case. So if I said to Andy, and I'm going to pick on Andy again, I am really interested in getting into drinking coffee, but it makes me have to pee. What might you say to convince me to drink coffee? I don't know what you might say, but let's give it a try.
Well, that's just one of the things that you got to suffer through to get to the good part.
But at least in that case, he's taking my perspective, my feelings, my concerns into heart, and we then better come to some sort of compromise, conclusion. We don't have to keep yelling at each other about how much coffee has to make me pee. So we want our students, we want everybody to be listening with intention so that when they are in conversations with people that they may not agree with, they are coming more closely to a conclusion and a compromise because they're actually hearing what the other person has said. Nomi, do you want to add anything to what I have?
I just want to add to that my practice, I grew up in the Middle East, and a lot of these exercises came from a lot of piecework that I did there. As you know, we have a big chaos in the Middle East, a political chaos between Jews and Arabs. And one of the biggest things that we did in the theater, the work that I did there, is really practicing to do intentional listening to someone's story and not only answering just what you want to say, but actually hearing what they're saying to you. And it was interesting for me, coming from a country where it's all about territory, how quickly I could bring the work to LA and work with a lot of gang members here because LA is a lot about territory, right? So taking these tools and really helping youth implement them into their life is really important. Just have intention when you listen and don't just be ready to spit out what you have to say. And maybe, you know, Jasmine or Ashley, maybe you guys who experience this as students, maybe Jasmine, you can maybe say something about her, how it felt to learn, because we're going to give you one game from each, not each of the pillars because we don't have time, but give you examples of what would an interactive exercise look like. And just to add another thing is that interactive on Zoom is very different than it is in person, as you all know. So I don't know if one of our students want to add anything to what has been said. Yeah, Jasmine.
So with my experience, at least with learning the different games, going over the different exercises and stuff, a lot of my opinions have changed based on the relationships. And one of the big ones is just like perspectives. Because let's just say for example, I'm in an argument, you don't really see the other person's perspective on what they're trying to tell you, and you kind of focus on your own. So with the games that we end up playing, you kind of realize like, oh, what if they're just trying to tell me something that'll benefit me? You know, it's just the lack of miscommunication. And whenever you have that communication, it ends up like, when you have that communication, it's a lot better to prevent arguments and things like that. So these exercises really helped with my communication skills and just my perspectives. I always learned that I gotta focus on like other people's perspectives in certain situations.
Awesome.
Ashley, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. For me, what changed was the goal, if that makes any sense. Because when you're starting a conversation, you usually have a goal in mind, which is to reach a compromise. But I've noticed that sometimes when I begin to talk with someone, that isn't my goal. Sometimes my goal would be, no, I want to be right. And so therefore, I'm going to start this conversation so I can be right. But then once we started doing these exercises, I realized, oh, I'm not listening to what they're saying because I want to be right. So rather than starting a conversation just to feed whatever complex I have in my head, I've learned to realize whether or not this conversation is worth it. Because if I'm just starting it to start a conflict, it's not worth it. But if I'm starting it because I want to listen to the other side and have an understanding, then it totally is worth it. And much more since it's a lot easier to navigate the conversation now that you have these pillars in mind and you can consider the other person's opinion.
I love that. And we talk a lot about, I had an aha moment early in training under Nomi where it was like, all we are in control over is our healthy communication. That person over there might be a total jerk and not listen to you, but at least you're coming from a place with these tools in mind and this perspective in mind and this listening in mind that that's all we can do. That's all we can do. And we spend a whole day on listening. We spend a whole hour-long session on listening with the storytelling games and the pros and cons game. And then we do a little bit of reflective writing. I like to ask the question of the group of like, when is it easy for you to listen? Because that's a really good self-awareness thing. Like, it's easy for me to listen when I feel safe in the relationship or when I'm focused. It's hard for me to listen if there's lots of ambient noise. Like that, and it also gives us a lot of insight into the student and how they learn. Should I move on, Nomi?
Yeah, and just one last thing I want to say, because we have a lot of experience working with kids who are affected by the different systems, is that it's a really important lesson, particularly inside the walls or kids who have involvement with the law, that just that because you're listening to someone doesn't mean that you're agreeing. And so many of our youth get in trouble because they feel like they need to disagree actively. And part of intentional listening means I'm taking it in so that I know how to respond. I don't always have to respond. So yeah, Annie, let's give another exercise.
So this exercise is one of my all-time favorites, and part of it is because it gives the students a chance to yell at me, which I think they actually secretly really enjoy. So if you are comfortable coming onto your microphone, everybody, and I always invite, especially on Zoom, I actually love the cacophony of like what's happening in the houses and the dogs and the babies and I love that. Sometimes we even get the parents to jump into the activity, which I think is fun. So I'm going to hold up a sign and you are going to yell it at me, the command on the sign. So ready? Everybody ready? Is everybody off mic? Ish. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Move over. Move over. Amazing. So, Karen, you had your hand up earlier. If you don't mind, if hopefully you're still willing to volunteer. Karen, when is a situation when you might yell at somebody to move over?
When I'm driving, even though they can't really hear me.
Okay. I love that, yes, but we need it where they actually might be able to.
Where they actually might hear me. When my husband's blocking the refrigerator.
Oh my God. Okay. So I would ask you, does move over work?
Yeah, he's scared of me.
Yes. So exactly. The caveat is it healthy, positive communication?
Probably not. I mean, it might depend on the way I say it, I guess.
Exactly. So the way that we unpack that, yes, it works. And we have real tough kids who are like, yeah, it works. And then we get to fight and then this and this. And I'm like, okay. I hear you. Is it healthy, effective communication? Oh, no, I guess not. So the way that we introduce, Son's laughing. The way that we introduce this or unpack this is we actually introduce them to a tool called the 3 Fs, which we did not invent. I should have the name of the person. Noam, if you want to do a quick internet search of who brought up the 3 Fs.
It's not our invention, but it worked great when we were teaching this, and everybody loves it's kind of now very fashionable. Everybody likes using the F word, not for the F word. We get attention that way. So
the 3 Fs, and it looks like Dr. Brandolini was the inventor of, I think he's a psychologist. So Karen, we're going to start with the fact. Your husband is in the way at the refrigerator. What is the fact? Stating the fact.
You are in my way.
Okay, we're going to take the you out of it because you turns into blaming, unfortunately, and we're going to be focusing on I statements.
Gotcha. Okay. I need to get into the refrigerator.
Love it. I need to get into the refrigerator. That is a fact. He could try to argue with that, but he would sound kind of silly. And what is the feeling? Again, starting with I.
The feeling? I don't know if I have a whole lot of feelings about the refrigerator.
Name the top 2.
I feel rushed or I feel frustrated, maybe.
Amazing. So I need to get into the refrigerator. I'm feeling rushed. What is the fair request? What are you asking him?
Could you move out of the way so I can get in there?
Excellent. So he can't argue with any of that. He might try, but it might sound kind of silly. All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Karen. We're going to try another phrase and you all can yell at me again. This one, the kids love because at this point I've probably been talking a lot and I've been talking a lot now. So 1, 2, 3.
Be quiet.
Be quiet. Anybody willing to jump into this activity with me? Have an opportunity or have a situation where you might ask somebody or tell somebody to be quiet.
I can go.
I'll join. I'll play. Oh, Josh, go ahead, Josh.
Josh. I heard Josh first.
Okay.
What is a situation when you might ask somebody to be quiet?
So my colleague Jen just threw it in the chat.
I see that.
She knows I love movies too. So yeah, like in the movie, if I'm with a friend or my partner, I really love my previews. I don't know about y'all. Like the previews,
I love previews too.
Is like when the movie starts for me. So yeah.
So who are you talking to? Are you talking to a stranger? Because I'm going to put a caveat in this exercise. This all depends on who you're talking to. Karen might be able to say move over to her husband and have that work and him still love her and respect her and have a mutual relationship that makes sense. But if it's a stranger at the movies, you might deal with things a little bit differently. So Josh, who are you talking to in this case?
Let's say a friend.
A friend. Okay, excellent. So what's the fact?
The fact is I would like to hear the movie uninterrupted.
So I'm going to refine that because that also feels like a feeling. What's the fact? What's happening?
I'm watching a movie.
Excellent. I'm watching a movie. I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. What's the feeling?
The feeling is I would like to watch the movie uninterrupted.
Yep, excellent. And maybe there's an emotion connected to it, just to sprinkle it on there. What's the emotion?
The emotion may be feeling irritated.
Excellent. So I'm watching a movie. I'm feeling irritated and would like to watch it uninterrupted. And what's the fair request?
The fair request is, can you please allow me to watch the movie uninterrupted?
Yep, exactly. Good job. Okay, amazing. Should we do one more? Nomi, you're on mute. I see you talking enthusiastically.
No, I just want to share an anecdote. In one of the lockup facilities that I was working, they did a really beautiful exercise where one of the girls, we act out a lot of situations, and one of the young women was like, we were trying how to ask in a better way, in a more productive way, to get permission to get phone calls. And she said, I haven't phoned home in a month. I really miss my parents. Can I please get a phone call? And the probation officer who was sitting in the back stood up and he said, come with me right now. I'm going to let you call right now. And then our program is once a week. I came back a week later and the probation officer said, they're all polite now. This sucks. What did you do? Like, this is ridiculous. So, and again, I want to add here that our job is not teaching something that our students don't know. It's giving them tools so that they by themselves can get the things that they want and should have. And again, this is not only for locked up kids, it's for youth anywhere, to be a self-advocate, so that, which I know is what Big Picture Learning is about, so that your voice is heard. We want everybody's voice to be heard. And what we've learned and what we know, voices are heard better sometimes when certain language is used. So that's really was my intention in founding this organization. And in many of these exercises is you can say this in a different way and get what you want. I'm not trying to change you. I just want to give you tools so that you can be the best you, have the best relationships, and go farther than I would ever be able to go. So that's kind of where this is coming from. So,
and the discernment there too, Nomi, and you use the word polite. We're not in the business of making kids or giving them tools just to be polite. It is about getting closer to what they want, getting them closer to their goal. Should we do another one, or should we move?
We can move on to the next one because I want to leave enough time to ask questions.
Okay, wonderful. Do you want to lead the next one? We talked about me doing the first two.
And Jasmine and Ashley, do you want to jump in and say anything about what we've been talking about? And again, we're going to leave a lot of time in the end to ask questions about our process and what we do. We want to kind of walk you through just one more set of games, two more. So Jasmine or Ashley, you guys, Ashley.
Oh, sorry, Jasmine. But I just wanted to add how both Miss Annie and Miss Naomi mentioned how they never mean to change the kids, and I can testify by that. I've never felt changed. If anything, I felt like I've been taught something that I didn't know was there or present, or if anything, like unveiled my eyes to something that I didn't know of, which is a lot different than saying it's been forced on. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
That's so nice. Thank you. Jasmine, do you want to talk about I statements or anything?
Well, with the I statements, I definitely had like a big problem in the beginning of the year by using I statements. It was very difficult for me to communicate it out. So I guess with these exercises, it's made it a lot easier. And like Ashley said before, which she brought up a really good point. She's actually on this side of me. Just like everyone's everywhere, but what she mentioned is that like it's not necessarily change, it's more being taught something and then using that into future situations, where the ripple comes in, because you teach it to others and then others spread it to others. That could be used in both good and bad ways, but we encourage it to be good ripples. So with using the I statements, it'll not only like get the point more forward, you can basically be more self-aware of your actions and things like that, you know?
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, for this last of the pillar exercises that we're going to bring to you, I need 2 brave volunteers up in the stakes for us here. 2 brave volunteers. It can be somebody who's a participator. Carol, is that you volunteering? Amazing. And one more.
I'll do it. Yeah, cool.
Colin, amazing. Okay, I'm gonna put you guys closer together. Hold on. Okay, so this is all about understanding perspective. So how I introduce the exercise to the group is just saying, and we're gonna pretend that we're all high school students, or that you two are. So all we know is that there was a fight at lunch. Two girls got in a fight at lunch. That's all we know, okay? So the two of you, and Nomi, do you want to talk about the big silly phones just for 1 second?
So here's where, on Zoom, we last year did something called Theater in a Bag, and we sent puppets and phones and just various things to our students. And because we love to play, it's always about playing. So we use these phones. You can see them. We give them to our students. You too can find these on Amazon.com. But if maybe you have a really low budget, which when I started I did, we just made them, photocopying machine, pasted on the back of a cardboard box, made the antenna out of some tinfoil. Once upon a time, we didn't even have a color copying machine because we were super poor. So we just took some phone, and this was a way to also teach our students, once upon a time, this is what a phone looked like when I was your age, right? So the thing and beauty about creativity is that once you invite it into the room, she is boundless, she is fun, she brings joy, and it's always enhances what we do when we try to be creative. My favorite thing that one kid did with this, he says, "Oh, wait, look, miss, I got earphones." So who knows? Maybe that's how somebody got an idea to do earphones. But really, to have a conversation with a phone like this is a lot of fun, where I can, call and say, "Hey, Annie, what's up?"
I don't have a phone on the line. So also something that Nomi has not mentioned, but that is definitely in the room, especially with young people who are in systems and don't have opportunities. We really are allowing them to play. This is about play and joy and laughter. And I want to tell Colin and Carol, there's no right or wrong way to do this exercise. It's a little bit more improvisational heavy, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. So we also make that kind of a norm in the room. So if you have a prop that you're happy to use as a phone, you're welcome to, or you can do the standard improv. So you are just two friends. You are two students who were also in the cafeteria, okay? And you are talking about what happened in the cafeteria on the phone. That's it, all right? So Carol, why don't you call Colin and have your little gossipy convo?
Hey, Colin. I know you saw it.
Yeah, but they're always the same. Those guys, they're always at it.
Well, I was glad to hear all that shit that they were flying with. I'll tell you.
Yeah, but it's been brewing. It's been brewing.
Yeah. I'm on here some more.
Yeah, they'd be for ages. But the thing is, though, I didn't think it was. It would be better if it was just one-on-one. It's when the other people start working it up and getting around, and they're all encouraging it. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. Two people, they should just go out and duke it out amongst themselves. Don't need everyone else getting involved and winding it up.
So you don't want me standing around there anymore?
Well, I just think it doesn't really help, does it? These guys have got a problem. They need to solve it. I mean, I think really we should put them out in the car park, and they should really just fight it out. And whoever's left standing, there's no anyone else getting involved in it.
All right. Amazing. I learned so many things. So this is the cool thing about this exercise. Beautifully done, first of all. So what I learned, or actually anybody can jump in, but what did we learn about these characters? We already know so much about this school and these characters. Who's Colin and who's Carol? Now we know these characters. You can put it in the chat or you can just scream it out. What did we learn? I feel like we learned so many things. Maybe I should just share what I learned, but I want to open it up. Colin was very opinionated about the fact, this has been a conflict that's been brewing. So now that's something that we know as improvisers and as an audience. The other is we learned that Colin's like, they got to figure it out for themselves. This is something that, and obviously the whole school got into the fight, including Carol. So we have a lot of information. So I'm going to do one more iteration. If you guys,
Jasmine wanted to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Nomi.
I feel like Colin wanted the fight to be like a little more, I don't know if like organized or more interesting. Like everybody wouldn't have came in and it just would have been them two. Maybe it could have been a little more interesting, but I don't know. I'm just not sure, you know.
But also I think interesting, and also I think he was egging for actually like an end to it. Like if they fight out, we'll get a winner and then we can squash it.
Yeah, like no. They're both not gonna lose. There has to be like one clear winner because that's what I came to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the way that we do this is either with 6 volunteers, but I'm going to keep you guys just in the interest of time and efficiency. We do student witnesses, and now you're going to play the parents, one parent of each of the kids who were in the fight. Is that clear? Carol and Colin, one of you is a parent of one of the kids, and one of you is a parent of the other kid who were in the conflict in the cafeteria. Okay, so Carol, you can call Colin again.
I've got a question. Do you want us to be a mess, or you want us to?
It's your choice. This to me is always the juiciest call.
Okay.
Because the parents get into it, or sometimes they're really cold. There's a lot of blame that can happen. That's just some stuff that comes up. So maybe you're a mess. You might be a mess. Like this might be totally out of the norm for your kid, or that's what you think, because sometimes parents don't know. Or you might have been the instigator. I mean, you can make a choice.
Okay.
Okay. Carol, you can call.
Ring. Hey, are you Jeremy's father?
Yeah. And you are?
Who am I? I'm Kaylee's mom.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really tired of him getting in her face. He's doing it all the time. He's provoking her. What do you do to get him to kind of take care of himself?
I don't know where you're coming at with that. I mean, you know, he's just trying to go about his day, and she's there with her gang. It's like something from Heathers or something. There's a whole gang of them gathering around him. You know, what's he supposed to do? Just there,
intimidated by my daughter? That's crazy.
But, you know, he's a guy. He's got to stand up for himself and prove himself to people. And there's this gang of. I'm going to be fair. It's like, you know, it's like the witches in Macbeth. They're like gathering around, all sort of like ready to go for him, and he's just there getting goaded. And really, you know, where he
gets it from.
A parent of a young lady, I expect more. I expect more decorum from females in the school system than to be goading these guys. You know, what's the guy going to do in that situation? He's got to stand up and say who he is.
Oh my God. Okay. We got to stop. I'm like, my blood's starting to boil. That was so good. Yes. Amazing. I love that. There's a whole thing happening in the chat because everybody's freaking out. That was so good. The thing is, imagine high schoolers doing this. Like it gets spicy, it gets gossipy, all of that blame. It's so much fun. And then the third one that we do, which we won't do, is teachers who were there, teachers who were witnessing. And so my question for you all is, who have we not heard from? Who do we not hear from?
Sonia, you're muted.
Jeremy and Kaylee.
Exactly. We have
the
not
students.
Heard,
the students.
Exactly. We do not get their perspectives. We get this whole world of perspectives that really gives us a really complicated picture of what everybody else thinks happened, but we don't hear from the students. So we use that. I love that exercise too. I think it's so much fun to really introduce this idea, and sometimes it is an introduction, of understanding perspective, because we know when we're in conflict with somebody, I think I'm right, they think they're right, I think my version of it is the truth, they think their version of it is the truth, and actually everybody has their own versions of the truth. There's a lot happening in the chat. The students, they should be first. Everyone makes assumptions from one conflict. We start telling all of these tales. We have our own investment in what's happened, especially when it comes to conflict. So that is how we kind of introduce the perspective piece.
And it's really important to, I don't think I know, and this is where I believe, and I've trained a lot. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Augusto Boal and Theater of the Oppressed. And really, when you start talking about other perspectives, you start understanding that there are other perspectives. So I'm kind of being mindful for the time, and I have promised that I also want to leave time for conversation. And this is basically, we go through our different pillars and we discuss them, but we don't just discuss them, we play them, we look at them, we act them out, we feel them. One of the, and for each interactive game, we try to do reflective writing, and sometimes that turns into spoken word or to poetry. And we really try to lean in to the youth that we're working in, because this is where I feel very much aligned with big picture learning. Kids learn the best the way they can learn, not the way that we choose to teach them, right? So if some kids are better at acting, then we'll act more. If that's not so great, we'll use puppets. And if puppets not that great, we'll use marionettes. And if they don't want their faces to be seen, we can do shadow puppets, because in shadow puppets, you stand behind the screen. And the thing about the arts is that it is such a rich field to pick from. And I am so lucky to have wonderful artistic practitioners who have the capacity to pull from a lot of different artistic backgrounds and do try to do all this through different ways and different ways of playing. We sometimes bring in props. We'll bring in, just different things that make the experience interactive and very real. And I want to end with one, not end the session, but one exercise I'm going to actually ask everybody to do. And it's something that we love doing. And it is a 6-word novel. What is a 6-word novel? It means that you write a story in 6 words. So let's say I wanted to write a story about not the best relationship. Maybe I would write something like, she came, he cried, she left. There's a whole story there, right? Don't know what it was, but that was my story. So I'm going to task all of you to write a 6-word novel, but I'd like it to be about a healthy and wonderful relationship. 6-word novel, and maybe we can put it, don't put it in the chat, because I like hearing everyone's voice at least a little bit. Maybe you don't have to, but we'll go around. We'll give like a minute to write 6-word novel about a good, healthy, positive relationship. No wrongs, no rights, and it's today. Tomorrow you might think something else. I'll start, and I'm gonna do what we call popcorn it. I'm gonna read mine and then popcorn it to someone else. And if you want to pass and you don't want to do it, just say pass. But I like to hear everyone's voice on the Zoom at least once, just so I feel that you were here with me. So mine is, they saw me, I was content. And how about Pedro?
Enjoying company, laughs, cries, learning life.
Amazing. Call on someone.
Jasmine.
Skies cleared up as lovers danced. I will pass it to Joshua.
I think she said Joshua.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I wrote, we laughed a lot. Today shouldn't end. And I will pass it over to Latoya.
Thank you. I said they sung and held hands.
Oh.
And I'll pass it over to Carol.
She shouted, he asked, she smiled. Jennifer.
Can we come back to me?
Sure.
Okay.
Amy.
Can we come back to me?
Absolutely. No pressure for anyone. Just making sure you're all here.
Son.
We are imperfect, but we try. Karen.
She said, help? Okay, I will.
Tell him to get out of the fridge, bruh.
Colin.
I'm gonna flip Jasmine's weather. They're dancing in the rain together again.
So much better in a British accent always.
Annie.
I said they love me as I am.
Oh.
Andy.
I brewed coffee and drank it. I think we still have our people on. Naomi, you haven't got a chance.
No, I started.
You started. Okay, so Jennifer, are you ready?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I just needed an extra like 30 seconds.
No worries.
He listened, I cried, we hugged.
I want to marry him.
Me too, someday, right?
Okay, we have Amy and Ashley to share. So, Amy, are you ready?
Yes, I think I'm ready. I apologize. We're open right now, so I'm like, I have people coming in, so I'm so sorry.
All good. It's all
Let
good.
me see if I have 6. 1, 2. I start off with our school is quirky yet resilient, but I feel like I'm missing a word.
That's awesome. I love it. Ashley, you're gonna finish us off.
Yeah. We listen, we understand, we trust.
Those are great. So what I want to add is that, many of you who are in the more formal educational setting where you have the curriculums that you have to be teaching to, if it's math or if it's, literature, really, I know that this isn't so relevant for big picture learning because you are always paying attention to social emotional learning. But for the youth that we work with, and we work in a lot of different settings. We work, as I said, inside the walls with incarcerated youth. We work at community centers where we met the brilliant Jasmine. We work with other arts organizations where we had the privilege to meet Ashley. We work in schools, like big picture learning schools. We work in LAUSD schools. And this curriculum can come in the New Village Girls Academy. We do this once a week during advisory. In other schools, we do this through a theater class, or we do it through a literature class, or we do it through a peer-to-peer helping. We really believe that this is a very important tool and skill to be teaching youth. And I will always be flexible, not only to lean into the students, but to lean into any location, site that we are working with. And every site has a culture of its own. And even different big picture learning sites are different. We're now starting to partner with another school in LA, and they have a very different kind of, it's the same roof, but the rooms are a little bit different. So we're having a conversation on where does this curriculum, where will it be heard, and where will it be a great place for it to be implemented with your students? And then, as you saw, even by just reading a 6-word novel, it's so deep and so meaningful. So we come into a setting, sometimes we only have a few sessions, sometimes we have a full 15 sessions. And because we are art-based and theater-based, we always try to end with a culmination where the youth get to share what they've done, what they've learned, their poetry. And I can tell you that Jasmine is a phenomenal poet. And I'm now thinking I should have had you done the poem that you did on the Facebook Live, because it was so absolutely gorgeous. And I thought about that this morning, but I'm not gonna make you do it. You can see that on our website. Jasmine is a phenomenal poetry writer. So there was a lot thrown at you in this last hour. We tried to share with you what we believe in, our practices, and what we do. And I want to kind of open the floor if there are questions, if there are thoughts, if you want to challenge us with something. I love being challenged. If you are not sure that something is so great, I will tell you why I think it's great. But really pass the mic to you guys. And there are 4 of us, so there's different perspectives of a founder, of an artist teacher, but also program manager, and 2 of our students. So if there's something you want to clarify about what you saw, what you heard, this is absolutely the space to do that.
So first off, thank you for being a really active session. That was great, participating in that. And our school, Andy and I teach at the same school. We teach students, and we have a whole lot of the same goals as you, with teaching them to express themselves in a way that gets them what they want, right? Or what they need, gets their needs met is often what we tell them, how to get your needs met. And so, you know, are there pieces of this project that we could steal, let's face it, and use with our students, and maybe, you know, working in more of that acting that that would be, you know, open and available to us to use with our students?
Absolutely. And we're working on, I mean, we're working on how to make it more accessible. We have right now 7, 8 facilitators, and there's lesson plans. The curriculum is very, very structured. We do teacher trainings where we teach the games. We don't have it yet in a form that I could give you the lesson plans, although maybe I could, and I'm being completely transparent. We could absolutely come and do a training for your teachers. That's something at New Village, you know, even though my team comes in and we have, we teach in the classes, we also do this with the teachers, because fun fact, I, who created this curriculum, need to do it and have a refresher all the time on how to communicate, right? So the model that we're doing right now is that we come in and train trainers or teachers our methods, and then we talk a little bit less about why we do it, and we do a 90-minute kind of workshop for teachers where here's a toolbox, we're going to give you some tools on how to, and we do like 10 interactive exercises, and we give a handout sheet of just the explanation of those exercises. So yes, we would love to do that, and if that's not feasible, just email me and we'll figure it out. Yeah, I mean, we would love to share this. We want everybody to be able to have tools to communication. I, as the founder, haven't exactly figured out how to make it accessible, but still ours, and teach it in a way that it's taught well. But I can tell you that there is no better way to teach than interactive and through drama and through the arts, because it's fun and you get the aha moment better. So, anyone else? No, any question? No bad questions, all good questions.
So since kind of connected to that, part of my work at Here to Here is we work with like 2 students from each of our network schools, and we put them in sort of like leadership positions. So they go back to their schools and kind of help connect their peers with like work-based learning opportunities. So we meet with those students twice a month. Have you all done this training with students specifically? And is that something that you would be open to do? Because I can see our student ambassadors really gravitating towards this, and maybe even like turnkeying it back to their schools and doing Absolutely. Their own thing with it. So yeah, just curious about that.
Absolutely. And I dropped my email, just shoot me an email. And we're in a lot of different spaces, and the beauty of this curriculum that it's very modular, and we're very goal oriented. So we'll come to a new partner and say, so what is your goal? What do you want to achieve from us coming in? And then together we figure out what that would look like. For instance, we met Ashley through a leadership program done by You Think, which is run by the Caton Museum, which are partners of ours. It's a children's museum, and You Think is their leadership program for high school students. So there was a discussion, and it was a shorter curriculum. And I don't think that the goal was to have, and Ashley, you can correct me, was to have them go back to their schools, but actually take leadership positions in their communities. So it was empowering them to have the tools. But then, you know, if a goal is to have the students then do this with their peers, that's something that we can work on also. And it's really, these exercises can be turned around with just how to facilitate them, how to just play them, and the goal of them can be modified a little bit also. And I mean, I believe not only as educators, but in life, flexibility is really important. And if I just came and said, this is what I want to do, I don't care what you need, then we're never going to move forward. So it's always about hearing, how can we take these tools and these methods and adapt them to what you need and want? So absolutely would love that. And thank goodness for the pandemic, that we all know that we can go across the ocean with Zoom, and you don't even have to bring us in to do it. So that's our new our new fun fact of this last year and a half, the silver lining. Anything else? Any question about what you saw, about the program? All right. Andy, you want to maybe end with our final questions?
Oh, yes. I said yes very loudly and I was on mute. So, and you guys can throw this in the chat. We do have some sort of reflections. It gives us also feedback about how it all went for you. So the first, and I'll put them in the chat for you because I'm a visual learner. So what is something that you learned? You can just throw your thoughts up in the chat. What is something that you learned? You can say it too if you'd rather speak it than type it.
Yeah. In our session, or today, or in life.
Or email me.
I learned. I like the games that we played, and it reminds me of restorative justice kind of work too. So created the new tools. So thank you, and I see how I can use it in my language class.
Awesome. Oh, I love that language. Awesome. I'm typing and looking at the chat at the same time. 3Fs, yes, the 3Fs is a big one. Amazing. Somebody already jumped in with this. Actually, a couple of you did, but if any of you else have thoughts about what might you bring to your classrooms? Bring to your classrooms? Anything?
Well, I think Karen already admitted that we have co-taught, so we've worked together on our program, and there are some similar aspects that we've been doing, but honestly, we're talking, we kind of like the way your all's is presented a little more than what we've been doing. So we're gonna beg, borrow, steal. So
no begging necessary. Never begging.
We're all about that. We do.
Okay, we're just gonna steal blatantly.
Love it. Awesome. I steal all the time.
I think we'll take the S as it was a practical tool back into the classroom.
Yeah.
But I think actually in terms of, we've talked about this quite a lot lately actually, about the idea of like communication and just the key nature of communications, why our children have the problems they have. And a lot of our guys, we talk about the fact that, that they don't know how to ask for a pen in the right way, or they don't even think they can ask for them. They're going to get shut down by the schools they're in and those sorts of things. And just being able to really recognize, the crux of their problem being around communication. And it really reflects on when you said about going into, the people that are in like youth detention and things like that. A friend of ours, he's one of our governors actually, he works with us, and he goes into prison and he said, why are you here? And the kid says, I didn't hand my homework in. And it was actually, that was the problem. He didn't know how to talk about the fact he couldn't get his homework done and communicate that. That's how he ended up getting involved in being pushed out from education, getting into crime and where he was. So that crucial point of actually, these guys just don't know how to ask what it is they need to ask. And so it ends up in punching or swearing or things, and it's so key, I think, for my team to really get their head around.
I love that. And I would add, it's not only not knowing how to ask, it's not knowing how to say. And we use this language a lot: say what you want, say what you need, say what hurts you. Because so many times my action is a reflection of something that's hurting me. And I have not met a young person who has been in trouble in the system that has not been hurt. And that so much of their behavior is from a place of hurt. And that actually, if we can teach them to say out loud what's hurting them, which is asking for a lot of vulnerability, maybe we can eliminate getting in trouble and actually getting help, because that's really at the core of what so many of the wonderful youth who have been my teachers, more than I have ever taught them, is it's about that. So yes, and thank you, and I agree to that deeply.
There's something that we have a couple key lessons about choices in the curriculum, and it is a theater of the oppressed method of acting out the situation, identifying the place where you made a choice that led to maybe a negative outcome, and then sort of replaying the entire scene, making a different choice and seeing what that outcome could or should have been. That's a key piece to our curriculum as well. And that I think speaks to what Colin was saying. Final question, just in the interest of time, is what was a challenge or a surprise in what you participated in today? And we love a challenge, but what was a challenge? What were you challenged by, or what surprised you? Aside from maybe it being 6:30 at night where you are. We're in the middle of our.
We didn't even ask where people are from. I'm sorry. We didn't let people introduce.
Right.
It's midnight for Colin, so.
Yeah, I know. It's almost midnight. Anything challenging or surprising?
You want to wrap up the last slide here?
Yeah, we need to wrap up, so let's
realizing how we're, yeah. Oh, I love that. Awesome. Share request. Yeah, it's specific wording. It's interesting. Like, it's not just asking a question, it's actually asking. And I haven't even really unpacked that word fair, but yeah, I like that. I should unpack the word fair when we talk about fair request. Okay, we have 5 minutes left, and in the last 5 minutes of every class, we do a little bit of a ritualistic chant. So I actually am going to ask Jasmine, and we didn't rehearse this, so I'm going to ask Jasmine and Ashley. They are going to say a phrase. We are all going to echo it. They'll say another phrase.
I'll hold up the sign.
Echo it.
These are words that
phrase, and we're all going to echo it.
So I'm going to put up the sign. Ashley and Jasmine, you will say it once, and then everybody will repeat after them. And this is what we believe we all are, but it's sometimes we have to say it out loud so that we remember it. So first one.
I am strong.
Yes, all right. Now I'm going to actually one. I'll go one. One.
I am strong.
I am strong.
I am strong. I want you all to say it like you mean it, man. Especially you young ladies. Say it like you mean it. You know that I make mistakes again.
I am strong.
I'm strong.
I am strong.
I'm strong.
Yeah.
Chaos. I love it. We're ending with chaos.
I'm doing activity.
Let's have everybody do
I'm
it.
doing
Because I'm
activity.
getting worried that they're going to hold on.
Activity.
And now everybody, I'm going to count to 3.
Okay,
Say,
everybody.
I am 1, 2, 3.
I am
capable.
That was kind of lame. You are capable. Say it loud, really loud. I'm going to count again. 1, 2, 3.
I am capable.
Most important and most important. 1, 2, 3.
I am
worthy. Are all so worthy. We so appreciate your time. I know what it's like at the end of a conference to come to yet another session. So I dropped my email, Annie's email. Go to our website. Please communicate with us. We would love to do something with you or give you something if you need it. Just have a conversation. We are always happy to partner. We are only always stronger together, never alone. And son, I just want to say thank you for the privilege of being in this tent.
Oh, you better stop it, sis. You better stop it.
It is. I'm not going to stop. It's a privilege.
Stop it. Stop it.
I will share with you also, because I shared with Annie. I'm not going to say what conference. I was at a different conference presenting last week. And the difference between you guys and them was so drastic that I don't think I'm ever going back to that conference.
Wow. You know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wait, so I'll say this quickly. I mean, there's some people who throw really good parties, but there's some people who are the party. I'm just saying.
There we go.
Just saying.
That's awesome.
I'm just kidding. Don't quote that. Don't quote that. I'm just kidding. Guys, I'm just being silly. But thank you so much. This is the last session of the day, but you guys made it so bomb. This was so much fun. But not only fun, but there was just so much depth into everything that you guys did with young people. And I can visualize doing this with my advisory. There's so much to learn from being silly together. There's some deep lessons. So I really appreciate that.
And wait, I want to really acknowledge Ashley and Jasmine, who I think this is their first time presenting at a conference, and they jumped in, and I love you guys.
Big ups.
And
big ups.
Thank you. Yeah.
Big ups.
Great job, y'all. Great job.
I dropped the link. If you want to give us some feedback, we really, really appreciate it on the session. The feedback goes directly to Naomi and Annie.
Amazing.
So please take a few minutes, give us some feedback. Other than that, my East Coast people, have a wonderful evening. Colin, I hope you go to bed. but more than likely you won't, you know. But for my West Coast people, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And everyone else, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Leaving to learn tomorrow. Make sure you guys get out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everybody, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.